What is practice? Practice is very simple. That doesn't mean it won't turn our life around, however. Meditation is not about some state, but about the meditator. It is not about some activity or about fixing something or accomplishing something. It's about ourselves. If we don't simplify the situation, the chance of taking a good look at ourselves is very small, because what we tend to look at isn't ourselves, but everything else. If something goes wrong, what do we look at? We look at what's going wrong, and usually at others we think have made it go wrong. We're looking out there all the time and not at ourselves. When I say meditation is about the meditator, I don't mean that we engage in self-analysis. That's not it either. So, what do? Trust in things being as they are is the secret of life, but we don't want to hear that. When we make a personal investment in our thoughts, we create the I, and then our life begins to not work. At first we feel our thoughts are real, and out of that we create the self-centered emotions, and out of that we create the barrier to seeing life as it is. Because if we're caught in self-centered emotions, we can't see people or situations clearly. A thought in itself is just pure sensory input, an energy fragment. But we fear to see thoughts as they are. There's a world of difference between saying, "She's impossible," and having a thought that she's impossible. If we think our thoughts are real, we act out of them. And if we act from such thoughts, our life is muddled. Practice is to work with this until we know it in our bones. Practice is not about achieving a realization in our heads. It has to be our flesh, our bones, ourselves. Of course, we have to have life-centered thoughts. How to follow a recipe, how to put on a roof, how to plan a vacation. But we don't need the emotionally self-centered activity that we call thinking. It really isn't thinking, it's an aberration of thinking. Zen is about an active life, an involved life. When we know our minds well and the emotions that our thinking creates, we tend to see better what our lives are about and what needs to be done, which is generally just the next task under our nose. Zen is about a life of action, not a life of passively doing nothing. But our actions must be based on reality. When our actions are based on our false thought systems, which are based on our conditioning, they are poorly based. When we have seen through the thought systems, we can see what needs to be done. What we're doing is not reprogramming ourselves, but freeing ourselves from all programs by seeing that they are empty of reality. Reprogramming is just jumping from one pot into another. We may have what we think of as a better program, but the point of sitting is not to be run by any program. Suppose we have a program called I lack self-confidence. Suppose we decide to reprogram that to I have self-confidence. Neither of them will stand up very well under the pressures of life because they involved an I, and this I is a very fragile creation, unreal actually, and is easily befuddled. In fact, there never was an I. The point is to see that it isn't empty, it's an illusion, which is different from dissolving it. Now, what does all this have to do with practice? Practice is about breaking our exclusive identification with ourselves. This process has sometimes been called purifying the mind. To purify the mind doesn't mean that you become holy or other than you are. It simply means to strip away that which keeps a person from functioning best. Master Rinzai said, "We cannot solve past karma except in relationship to circumstances. When it is time to dress, let us put on our clothes. When we should take a walk, let us walk. Do not have a single thought in mind about searching for Buddhahood." There is no special time or place for great realization. As Master Huang Po said, "On no account make a distinction between the absolute and the sentient world. It's nothing more than parking your car, putting on your clothes, taking a walk. Most of us here are chasing after Buddhahood, yet Buddhahood is how you deal with your boss, or your child, your lover, or your partner, whomever. Our life is always absolute. That's all there is. The truth is not somewhere else, but we have minds that are trying to burn the past or the future. The living present moment, Buddhahood, is rarely encountered.